Classical horsemanship is a term used to describe the art of riding. The term classical denotes a practice as much as a philosophy that is pure, tested by time, that is both harmonious and beautiful. It is a centuries-old art form that is based on both science and principles, merging the beauty of the horse with the lightness of the rider. As long ago as 400 BC, the Greek philosopher and general Xenophon recognized the value of horsemanship that treated the horse with kindness and respect to draw the best from the relationship. Xenophon also recognized the value of lateral and suppling work to teach his war horses different battle movements. A good horseman considers the nature of the horse, their psychology, physiology, and sociology, and treats their horse with respect and consideration. A classically trained horse and rider understand the complex application and use of aids, reins, legs, and a balanced body position. Classical dressage teaches complete harmony between horse and rider. The message of the classical school is that while your mind and body are being trained, one must always listen to the heart. Sensitivity, as well as technique, is essential. The classical philosophy develops a more humble, patient, sensitive, and respectful human being. In time, this philosophy permeates all aspects of one's life. H.H. Classical is a center for classical horsemanship. They believe there is a necessity for preserving the high values and morale of this ancient art. They are dedicated to preserving the art of classical dressage. Their training methods adhere to the principles of the old masters. This system understands and protects the gentle nature of the horse and works with each individual physically as well as psychologically. Classical horsemanship is a lifelong commitment, from birth to maturity, and great care must be taken to protect the innocence and nurture trust from birth throughout the life of the horse. The academic way to learning to ride is a long one. Nothing is rushed and there are no shortcuts. At H.H. Classical, they always take care to enjoy the journey.
Classical horsemanship, to me, means something that has been time-tested, it is timeless, and it dates back to the time of the Greeks in the 4th and 5th century BC. This was a time when everyone was focused on things of beauty, art, sculpture. It is the first treatise, actually, that was written on horsemanship by Xenophon, who was a Greek cavalry officer in 368 BC. Horsemanship, in and of itself, the term means everything that is involved with caring for and understanding the true nature of the horse, his physical attributes, how he behaves in nature, everything to do with him mentally, psychologically, preserving and protecting the true nature, the calm and gentle nature of the horse, understanding nutrition, understanding training techniques. All of these things are, to me, what the true nature of a horse is about, and that is, for us, the important thing is to protect and preserve the true nature of the horse. For us, the importance of having these beautiful creatures in our lives, the importance that they play just for the joy they bring us, and in art and in beauty, is very, very important to, at all times, understand them, to be kind and to be patient. It's not about our ego. It's not about our ability to win a blue ribbon or gain more points. It's about protecting and preserving something that is so beautiful and so precious, because we've developed a relationship with another living creature, and we are the stewards of that creature. So For me, classical horsemanship is timeless. It is something of beauty, and it is never anything that is rushed or caused from force. The necessity for classical horsemanship today is stronger than ever. For most people, when we enter into the world of horses, the majority of people have very busy lives. We're rushed, we're harried. We don't take time to reflect, we don't take time to think because we don't have that kind of time. Classical equitation requires people who want to look at it from a more philosophical, intellectual perspective. It is necessary to gear your character toward that. Being able to let go of your ego, being able to absolutely try to join forces with another living entity and understand that, building a relationship based on harmony and balance and understanding, so the horse understands, so the horse is calm, so the horse remains quiet, and we don't rob them of their gentle, beautiful nature. I think that requires thinking skills. I think that requires philosophical ability for one to stop and reflect. I think that gives us a place to go when we want to get out of our busy, harried lives. And I think that it is so crucial in this day and age that it builds character with our children, for ourselves. We let go of our ego, we let go of our ability to try to dominate, we let go of our ability to try to control, and it is in this letting go process that I think we truly find ourselves, and therefore we find the true nature of this beautiful creature. Why I think this system, which has been in place for centuries, is so important today, more so than ever, is because we have become a society where it's fast-paced, it is pushed and hurried, and everyone is trying to go out there and compete. And in that struggle to do that, we have lost something that is very precious. We have lost a culture, if you will, or the ability to sit and look at something purely for the joy of it, purely just to enjoy the beauty of a horse. The artistic creativity that flows through us is absolutely important, and I'm certainly not saying that competition in and of itself is a negative. It's not. It's just that classical horsemanship preserves the natural ability for a horse to want to give us, because they're by nature very willing, beautiful creatures. I don't believe Velázquez or Goya or Van Dyck painted by number. So to go in and do a prescribed test and do everything exactly at the same point, at the same time, and be judged on that, that type of competition somehow erodes away our ability for self-expression. And that's basically what the horses are. They give us an avenue to express ourselves through them, very much as an artist paints from his soul and it flows through his hands onto the canvas. Our horses reflect who we are inside, and the time and love and care that we put into them is very clearly evident. They mirror us. So today, more than ever, I think in our society, it is very, very important for us as individuals, for our children, that we protect and preserve the classical techniques. And also it teaches that we must learn to study the horse, we must have discipline, we must let go of our own alter ego. And the one thing that to me comes through so strongly is how to deal with horses with compassion, with sensitivity, with a great deal of tact and finesse always. The minute you pick up any kind of aggressive behavioral trait in yourself that you project in the horse because the horse doesn't do as you wanted him to or as you had asked, instead of taking your time, thinking about it, coming back, using the techniques that have been in existence that we can easily learn, that brings about, we prepare the horse understands, we release the aid, and it is in the release of the aid that the moment of beautiful expression can happen. It cannot be forced. And I think competition erodes that ability in us to let it go, because everything is about precision and it's about getting it done in a certain amount of time, and it's fast, 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 and it has been spoken about by masters of classical equitation for many, many years. So for me, having this preserved is absolutely essential. I believe that the ability of a person to understand the true nature of a horse, to understand their psychology, as well as the biomechanics of an individual, is the quintessential for becoming a better rider and for developing a relationship with your horse that's based on trust, where you can build confidence in your horse. And for me, everything that we do here at HH Classical is based around understanding and protecting and preserving the true nature and the nature which is very gentle and kind and loving of the horse, never making them frightened, never overfacing them, never pushing them beyond their limits. And they all have their limits. They all have physical attributes that are very strong, and each individual has things that, they're one-sided, they're a little bit stronger on one leg than the other, that type of thing. So understanding that, instead of just forcing your way through it or ignoring it, having knowledge of that is very, very important. By developing a set of skills, not just the technique, but the skills to understand the feel and the sensitivity of riding beautifully, elegantly, and yet effectively, is the paramount in classical equitation. We see all too often today in competitions riders that are effective riders, but they're not elegant riders. Conversely, you can see people that try to sit very still and straight and be elegant in their own way, and yet they're not very effective, and they have no understanding of the horse underneath them. So classical horsemanship teaches us philosophy, it teaches us technique, it teaches us feel and sensitivity, it teaches us to prepare the horse gently, quietly, over a system that over time, with a great deal of careful methods, that we wait for the moment and then allow it to happen. And that is something that never hurts the horse.
One example of classical schooling is the circle. It teaches the horse how to bend and keep their rear hoof prints in the track of their front hoof prints. The horse develops strength by stepping under with their rear supporting leg and then pushing off. The horse develops a sense of balance not achieved by working in a straight line. The circle is also the foundation exercise for teaching other lateral movements, like the shoulder in and haunches in.
The importance, that's a very old technique that the old masters used, and it's called the work in hand. The importance of it is that you can supple a horse and teach them to use their backs and step up under with their inside hind without the hindrance of a rider's weight on their back. You can teach them to soften and flex their jaw, which is a very Boucheristic term, but you can do all kinds of things to get them soft and supple and listening. walk, halt. You start along the long side and just teach them to walk, halt on either side, which is very, very important, just as it is in lunging. You can teach a horse to basically engage a little bit more, learn to step up under himself, learn how to position his shoulders. You can teach him, this is my space, that's your space. So in the end, it's just your body language. And with a horse that's more advanced in this, you can do shoulder in, haunches in, half pass, canter, canter pirouettes. It's sort of a prelude to the long lining, if you will. It's how I start all my horses with piaffe and passage. You do it in hand first, the Spanish walk, any of those elements, because it puts the rider in a position of a different perspective. You can stand and watch what's happening with the horse, with his inside hind. You can watch what's going on with his lower back. You can feel and sense if he's struggling. You can observe the weak areas of the horse, and at the same time, you can absolutely help him to engage more so that you can strengthen him, again, without the hindrance or added weight of a rider on their back, or without your hands trying to get too busy. It's very soft, it's very quiet. It's important that people learn to do this on a horse that's already schooled to do it with an instructor that understands it, because just as with anything, if it's done incorrectly, it can serve more harm than good. So, but I start all my young horses utilizing this. To me, it is as crucial as teaching them to lunge correctly.
While any breed of horse will benefit from being trained and ridden according to classical principles, today the Andalusian and Lusitano still most movingly embody the nobility and grace that inspired the classical masters of the Renaissance and Baroque eras. Contemporary masters, including the incomparable Nuno Oliveira of Portugal, have kept alive the tradition of balance, lightness, and harmony. As Oliveira and others before him taught, nothing can be achieved by force, but only through patience and a profound sympathy for the nature of the horse. The classical tradition continues today at HH Classical, where the creatures you see are truly living works of art.
I really think preservation of classical riding is relevant today for several reasons. The two most important being the incredible history and tradition and beauty of classical riding when it is done well. It's an art that should not be lost and has been in danger of being lost in some areas. And the second main reason, as was expressed in a classical symposium we did this weekend, is that horses and riders' bodies have not changed over the centuries, and we need to keep a method that works, has been tested through time, and is user-friendly for both horses and riders. We want these horses to last for a long time, and we want to use a method that is conducive to their soundness and their mental well-being. Almost everything has changed about equestrian culture. Obviously, most of us don't depend on our horses for our transportation, livelihood, or survival as our ancestors did. Certainly the horse has benefited in many ways with better nutrition and access to expert veterinary care. And unless he's racing or eventing at the highest levels, he usually isn't risking his life when he carries us anymore. But we've lost a sense of equestrian culture where people grew up with horses and innately understood them and acquired a lifetime of experience passed on in a direct line from horseman to horseman. Instead, we live in an era of instant gratification, and without sufficient equestrian background, the equine culture, if you will, often people simply don't understand how much time and patience are involved if the aim is to produce a correctly trained dressage horse that will last into his 20s and become the schoolmaster for the next generation of riders. There's an old saying that when the student is ready, the master teacher appears.
Recently, HH Classical sponsored the first in a series of classical symposiums to exhibit, demonstrate, and celebrate the principles and results of the art of classical horsemanship to an appreciative audience.
The idea I have here for HH Classical is to utilize everything that we have with this beautiful facility and the beautiful horses in order to develop a classical symposium to be held once a year and to invite people from all over the world that have the same passion and the same connection with the old masters, so that we can form sort of Knights of the Round Table, if you will. So that is my hope, that we can establish that and develop that network of people and have a classical symposium once a year, not only here but in various parts of the country, to make it accessible for people to go and learn and just enjoy the day and make that connection so that they can do networking with people that are very much similar in their mind as in terms of what they want and where they're going. And in order to continue this, these beautiful, beautiful horses deserve this, and they are deserving of everything that we have to give them, and we need to protect them. We need to give people a clearer understanding of training techniques that are not using force, that are not going against the nature of the horse, and that are certainly not breaking down the horse. You see it in every industry, hunter jumpers, dressage, flat track racing. You see horses that are out there winning one day and the next day they're broken down. This to me needs to be addressed, and this to me needs to be handled in such a fashion where the horse's health and well-being is paramount. It comes first, and then you can go out and compete within the limits of that individual. So by forming a foundation, if you will, for classical horsemanship, it would enable us to be able to do that, to raise the funds and to be able to do that, so that we can then network and form people all over the world, that we can have a union and share our passion and share our ideas and share our ideals with people that are very like-minded.
Sensitivity is as essential as technique in developing a horse. One must listen with the heart and always consider the horse first and foremost. For more information on classical horsemanship and the benefits of this kind of training, contact HH Classical for more information.